Okay, so here we are. We're going to start chapter 14, which is the heart, part of the cardiac system, and circulatory system, which work very closely together, obviously. Okay, so let's talk about the functions of the circulatory system. So it's pretty clear, that the heart circulates oxygenated blood to all parts of the body. That's why we have the circulatory system. It's a pump, okay, and it's actually a double pump. And even though there's 4 chambers, they do not connect. There's a right side and a left side. There's arteries, veins, and capillaries that do the transportation of the blood. They carry the blood to the body and back to the heart and to the lungs and back to the heart and to the body. It's kind of like a big circle. Blood carries oxygen, but it also carries nutrients and hormones, and it carries away waste products. It helps maintain homeostasis. And remember, homeostasis is being at equilibrium. When our body is at equilibrium, we are feeling pretty good. And then the lymphatic system, that is also works with our circulatory system. It returns excess fluid from tissues to general circulation. And it also helps with the immune response, but we're going to study it specifically for the circulatory system. But lymphocytes are carried through the body by the blood. Let's see. Next, we have the organs of the circulatory system, which is obviously the heart. Okay, the arteries. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. Veins carry blood to the heart. It's really important to remember that, okay? We have capillaries, which are the smallest vessels in our body. We can't have big vessels to try to get all the blood to the separate cells. You have to have tiny little blood cells or tiny little capillaries to carry those blood cells and oxygen to our limbs and all of our cells. And blood. Blood is part of the circulatory system. So you have 2 kinds of circulation. You have general circulation, and that's where the heart pumps the blood and gets carried throughout the body. But you also have cardiopulmonary circulation. So when blood comes back to the heart from the body, it's deoxygenated, right? Because all the oxygen is used by the cells. So it dumps into the heart, it goes to the lungs, it picks up oxygen in the lungs, right? Because that's where our oxygen goes when we breathe in. And then it goes back to the heart, and the heart circulates it to the body. So you have to have cardiopulmonary circulation in order to have oxygen for systemic circulation. And here's a picture of how it works. And you can kind of see it, like the little net part right here and right here. Those are our capillaries. Those are where the veins and the arteries connect, so that when the arteries bring the blood to the cells use the oxygen that's brought, and then it goes back to the heart, and then it goes to the lungs, and the lungs reoxygenate it in those capillaries, and that goes back to the arteries, into the heart, and out to the body. Okay, let's look at the heart. So the heart is a very tough muscular organ. It's about the size of your fist. It's located in the mediastinum in the thoracic cavity. So the mediastinum is right in the middle. That's where your heart, your esophagus, your trachea are, in the mediastinum. So your heart is, and it's shaped like a cone. There's a tip, like comes to a point. That's called the apex. And that apex is pointed to the left side. That's why your lung on the left is a little bit smaller than, it's narrower than the right, but it's longer than the right. And that's because the heart pushes it over. So naturally, it has to take that shape. You have to have a healthy, well-functioning heart to sustain life. if your heart is damaged, you can feel that in all of the systems of your body. Okay. So your body pumps blood to your body system. So, for instance, your urinary system, you have kidneys. In order to produce urine, you have to have blood coming into your kidneys. It's called perfusion. So, if there's perfusion to your kidneys, you're going to make urine. If your heart is not pumping right, it's not going to perfuse your kidneys right. And the waste is not going to be removed from your blood effectively. You may make urine, but it's not going to be effectively cleaning the body because there's not enough blood going to it. Um, if you look, you can see that the axis of the heart, which is the line that goes straight down the middle, is not the midline of the heart. So this would be the midline. So this is not, the axis is not at the midline. We can tell if a heart is functioning properly by using a stethoscope. It's a basic tenet of medicine. Nurses, doctors, nurse practitioners, physician assistant, anybody who's dealing with patient in the therapeutic pathway has to use a stethoscope to listen to the heart. You can tell something's wrong by listening to the heart a lot of times. If the heart stops beating, that's called a cardiac arrest. It is that is lethal. And you have to resuscitate that person. So that's why we learn CPR. It's cardiopulmonary resuscitation. We use CPR to try to keep that heart pumping until we can get it restarted. Okay, let's look at the pericardium. The pericardium is a double layer membrane. It's a fibrous tissue that surrounds the heart. So the space between it is filled with pericardial fluid. Okay, so you have in your heart the pericardium, you have the visceral pericardium. Okay, and that is surrounding the heart. They also call it the epicardium. I've never really heard it called that, but that's what it is. And you have a parietal pericardium, and so you have the visceral pericardium, then the fluid, and then the parietal pericardium. And that fluid is a lubrication between the pericardial layers. So the pericardium protects the heart, but if you only had one layer, it would be rubbing against other structures in the chest. So it's two layers, and there's fluid in between, and that keeps the heart from having friction. It's a space, literal space between the pericardial layers filled with fluid. The myocardium, there's also three layers to the heart. So there's the myocardium. So after the pericardium, there's the myocardium. And the myocardium is the layer of heart that is the actual muscle. So the muscle tissue is the strongest part of the heart. And then on the inside, there's the endocardium. And that's a smooth tissue that covers the inside of the heart, and it lines I'm sorry. It also covers the valves. Okay, so it lines the blood vessels, the chambers, the valves, the inside of the heart and the vessels to provide a smooth flow. If you have vegetations that forming your heart, or you have a buildup of cholesterol in your vessels, it creates a rough area, and platelets and blood cells can get stuck, create a clot, and block a vessel. All right, we're going to stop there, and I'll be back with the next part of structures of the heart.